Welcome to another episode of The Evaluation Couch, the podcast where we talk about career growth and the field of evaluation. This is your host, Maria Montenegro. Hello, everyone. It feels like it's been a long time since I'm here recording an episode. Over the last 2 months and a half, I have been releasing episodes almost on a weekly basis. But I actually haven't really been recording episodes. I have been releasing episodes that I had recorded in the past. A few of the episodes that I did record were either interviews with guests that I actually had to redo. I had to redo an episode, and that was interesting. The other episode I recorded by myself was an episode that I had already created the content for. So I had to sit, read, record, release. And it was quite an easy process. But this is the first time in over 2 months that I sit and actually write an episode and come up with content. So it feels like it's been a while and I had to brush up some of my skills in doing this. But the truth is, I haven't been recording episodes because I haven't really been doing well. A couple of months ago, I had to say one of the hardest goodbyes to my beautiful dog, Safi. Safi was 10 years old and she was with me ever since she was a puppy. If you have lost a pet, you can probably empathize. I've had dogs basically all my life, but this one was rough. Safi was with me and my partner for a decade, and she came into our lives when we were pretty young. Among our friends, we were the first to have a dog. We were just wrapping up school and beginning our professional career. So all of my career, my journey, becoming an evaluator, growing in evaluation, navigating workplaces, figuring out what work-life integration means for me, working from home during the pandemic, all of these experiences in my life revolved around Safi. And later on, around Kia as well, who is Safi's little sister. So as you can imagine, it's been very challenging to lose her. It's been challenging not to hear her and feel her in our house. It's definitely getting a lot of time to get used to it. And besides being my beautiful dog and being a pet, she was such a big part of my identity. So I've also had to navigate losing a part of my identity. And that means that over the past few months, I have been grieving. I have been spending a lot of time with my partner, with my other dog. I have been focusing on myself. And while I hope that none of you are facing something similar, meaning the loss of a loved one, whether it's a pet, a family member, or a friend, realistically, I know that this is part of life. And in addition to that, I know that grief shows up often and in different ways in our careers. And that is what motivated me to record this episode. I'm currently developing a super exciting coaching program for evaluators who are stuck in their career. As part of developing this coaching program, I've been interviewing mid-level evaluators and digging into what's keeping them stuck, the challenges they're facing in their careers. One of these evaluators said something to me that I just haven't been able to forget. They were describing the challenges they're having in maintaining a stable job and having financial stability. And they said, it feels like I'm grieving leaving this field. I've also been supporting people affected by the funding cuts and providing career coaching to them on a one-on-one basis. I have seen so many different ways in which people facing career disruption are also experiencing grief. Many people in our field and in the social impact space are grieving, not only because they lost a job, but also because their whole career and sector that they've been training for has basically been dismantled. And the opportunities that they thought were available are no longer available. Grief is an emotional response to a loss. And it can happen because of significant changes in our lives. These changes can also create a loss in our identity. I have been reflecting so much about this in the last 2 months as I've been grieving my beautiful dog, because Safi was such a big part of my identity for so many years. She's part of my identity because of all of the experiences and memories that we have together. She has been my emotional support and companion. I always say that dogs are the most loyal beings in our planet. No matter how difficult school or my workplaces were, no matter how down I was feeling, Safi was always following me around with nothing but love and absolutely no judgment, ever. Safi was a big part of my identity because she played such a big role in my daily routine and structure. I had to get up. and I take her out. Part of my daily routine is going out for walks because she needs exercise. No matter the weather, I had to go to the dog park. I developed so many relationships in my building and in neighborhood because when you have dogs, you talk to people. And oftentimes, people by the name of their dogs and they're like, that's Safi's mom, which is quite funny, but it helps. It creates these beautiful relationships with people that live around you. My dogs have helped build a sense of community for me. Safi has also shaped my personality and my lifestyle. Safi was a Labrador and an extremely hyper and active dog. For 10 years, I have been active with her in different ways. Going on long walks, hiking whenever we could. Staying still wasn't really an option with her, so I became an active person. One thing I love about having a dog is that it gives you a sense of purpose and responsibility. I've been thinking a lot about this because I've been wondering if it wasn't because of Kia, who is my other dog, if she wasn't around, would we even be getting up today? Would we leave the house at all? Would we even talk to people at the park? In those days when we really don't want to see other people, when we really don't want anyone to ask us about Safi, we still had to leave because we had a responsibility over Kia. And we couldn't just stay in bed and not leave for days because she depends on us. So she gave meaning to our lives during these past few months. And I realized that in the same way that Safi shapes a lot of my identity, our careers shape a lot of our identity. Our career, our job, our profession shapes our daily routines and the daily structures we have. Do we go to the office? Are we away for most of the day? Do we travel? Do we work from home? Do we interact with people every day? What does that look like? Are you sitting on a desk for 8 hours? Are you in constant meetings? Are you interacting with community members? Our careers shape our social identity and our networks. If you think about how many evaluator friends you have, how often you move in spaces with people that are like-minded, that work either in the social impact space or in your same profession. Our career influences our personalities, the things that we value, the information we're surrounded by, and how we see the world. It influences the skills and expertise that we decide to grow and strengthen over time. And our careers also give us a sense of purpose. This is something that really resonated with me among all the conversations with evaluators I've been having over the last few weeks. The people that choose to be in evaluation, they don't do it because of the money, because of the work flexibility. They don't do it because it's a cool profession that you grew up listening about. People in evaluation, more often than not, do it because they see their career as a way of playing a role in making this world a better place. And that gives them purpose. That is important for them. Their life has meaning because of that. So whether it is because you've lost a pet like me, because you're grieving a relationship, because you've lost your job and you feel like part of your identity has been lost with it, or if you're grieving the possibility of having to stop doing what you love because you feel stuck, you may be experiencing grief. So keeping in mind that grief is a shared experience that we might all have in our careers, I wanted to share in this episode some career reminders that this period of my life has given me. Even in the hardest times, there are opportunities for us to reflect and find new perspectives that can help us navigate our career. Some of these reminders have helped me navigate this period with more self-compassion and less guilt. So I'm hoping that in sharing some of these, it might help you navigate challenging times in a similar way, or it might motivate you to find learnings in this period of your career. The first reminding is about reconnecting with what truly matters. I love my career. I love my work. I spend so much time of my day being an evaluator from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in my full-time job, where I lead a team of research and evaluation, and then also outside working hours. I spend time working on this podcast, keeping up with social media, working on my coaching business where I help evaluators that are stuck in their careers. It makes sense that this is such a big part of my life after all of the training and preparation that it's taken me to get to this point. I went to school for 2.5 years to do my master's. There was so much frustration, learning, and effort that I invested when I was becoming a self-made evaluator, which is the new term that I'm using to describe myself instead of accidental evaluator. because there was nothing accidental about how I got to where I am today. Being an evaluator is a big part of my identity. Our careers are among the first things that we share about ourselves when we meet someone new. It's either the first or the second question that we get asked. What do you do for work? If you're like me and you know that you're here in this world to achieve great things and you are driven and you want to create change, it's easy to get caught up on our professional identity and to lose sight of what really truly is important outside work. This period of grief reminded me that although I love my career, 10 years from now, when I look back at this period, I'm not going to remember the exciting projects I had at work. I'm not going to remember what podcast episodes I released or recorded. I'm going to remember the relationships and the people that bring joy to my life. Safi was completely fine, and then out of nowhere, she stopped eating and her health deteriorated pretty quickly. Shortly after, we heard that she had terminal cancer. We had about a week and a half from the onset of her illness to the time when we said goodbye. What I will remember is making the time to spend with Safi during those days. I will remember giving her all the love that I could. I will remember being there for my partner and how we navigated these challenging times together. And I'm so glad that I was able to prioritize this during this period. During Safi's last days and the days that followed, I was less active in social media. I didn't record new episodes. I took time off work when I needed to. And I'm so glad that I did all of this without any guilt. I know this is not available to everyone. You might be working in a place that doesn't allow flexibility, or your livelihood may depend on creating content. Taking time off just might not be an option. But I think it's helpful during challenging times, as well as during the times that are not particularly challenging, to check in with ourselves and consider whether there's anyone or anything important to us that we are neglecting in pursuit of our career goals. And if so, asking ourselves if there's any space we can carve or any flexibility we can lean on to make more space to what truly matters to us. The second reminder that this period gave me is that self-care is not only an act of love towards ourselves, but it's also a professional responsibility. Safi taught me so many lessons, but the biggest lesson she taught me is the importance of the energy that we bring into all spaces we occupy. Safi was the happiest dog in the world. Even at 10 years old, when we would go out for walks, people would think she's a puppy because she just had the most playful and happy energy. When people would see us walking, they could tell she was so happy and so excited. Her tail would be moving around. She was kind of dancing in her own place. Whenever we went out on walks, she would steal at least one person's smile, like random people just walking by, wearing their headphones, doing their own thing, and they could just not help smiling when they saw her. She spent 10 years of her life spreading joy among strangers that ran into us. And she taught me how contagious our energy can be. How you show up, the energy that you bring into your work, into your day, into meetings, can make a difference. It can determine whether people want to collaborate with you, whether people feel safe and are going to trust you. Our energy can influence the success of a project or an evaluation. During this time, I didn't just approach self-care as something I needed to do because I love myself and because I needed it. I also approached it from a place that considered the energy that I wanted to bring to the spaces I occupied. And these helped me set some boundaries and make decisions that were not necessarily easy. For example, currently, I am chairing a steering committee made up of a group of very well-established evaluators who all seem to know each other quite well. For me, this is the first time I'm interacting with most of them. I take this role and this opportunity pretty seriously. And I'm cognizant that given many of them don't really know me, first impressions are very important and they're going to matter for the work we're going to do together over the upcoming months. The week everything was happening with Safi, we had our first meeting. The very first time we were all going to get together in a virtual meeting and start this work. And I was supposed to chair it because I'm the chair of the committee. And I knew that I just was not going to show up with the energy that I wanted and the energy that the work required. No matter how much I tried to fake it, I was so consumed by grief, and my headspace was literally elsewhere, attending to Safi and her situation. So I decided that the best thing was to not attend the meeting. I communicated with someone in the group, I explained what was happening, and I asked them to cover for me. And I just didn't go. I followed up after the meeting and acted on what was needed from me as follow-up actions. I think I made the best decision for myself and for the steering group by not going. Choosing to step back to honor what I needed in that moment wasn't about abandoning the responsibilities and the commitments that I had made. It was about showing up in a way that truly served both myself and the people I was going to collaborate with. I care about these relationships, and I knew that the energy I was going to bring into the room just wasn't a positive one. It wasn't going to promote collaboration, I wasn't going to be present, and they all deserve better than that. I also made similar choices, assessing where my energy is best spent in the following days. Not just for my own well-being, but also for the quality of what I bring into my work. And again, I want to emphasize, this isn't about disregarding commitments or putting myself above everything else. It's about being transparent, authentic, and finding ways to contribute meaningfully while also acknowledging my own limits. At its core, self-care is not selfish. It's necessary for us to show up in a way that allows us to bring our best to the spaces and relationships that matter. And when we're talking about a professional setting, then it becomes our professional responsibility too. The third reminder was the importance of being intentional about learning. The passing of Safi coincided with the busiest conference and learning season of my year. If you've been following this podcast, you probably know my thoughts on how we should prepare for conferences and similar events. I have a framework I use to prepare for conferences that helps me prepare by identifying my learning and networking priorities. And then I use this to filter presentations and identify people that I will connect with at the event. Key aspects of my planning process include scheduling time before and after the conference for planning, to review notes, and identify ways of putting learnings into practice. I think that when we just attend a bunch of training or conferences without intentionality and without doing the necessary prep work, we're not optimizing the learning opportunity. And it can easily become a situation where your time could have been better spent doing something else. Unfortunately, because of all of the things I was dealing with in my life, I didn't have the capacity, time, or the mental state to actually do the prep work, to be present, to follow up, to make that time. On the week of Safi's passing, I had an in-person conference in my city. And before all of this, I was very excited for it. It was the first time I was attending this conference, and I had heard such good comments from my coworkers about it. I was also presenting one of our projects, and one of the grants for the project was paying for my attendance. I decided to push through it and go to the event on the day that I was presenting. And it wasn't terrible. I did cry at one point when I was talking to a friend. Maybe it helped me a little bit to go and get distracted. But the reality is I wasn't able to be fully present. I didn't have time to do any of the planning that I usually do for conferences. I was not up for networking at all, so I probably only met one new person. And although maybe I learned a couple of things in the sessions I attended, overall, I don't think it was the best use of my time to be there. If I could go back in time, I probably would have chosen to not go. And the thing with training events, with conferences, is that I think it's so easy for us to have fear of missing out, partly because of social media. If you're like me, your LinkedIn is vibrant with posts about webinars, workshops, and conferences. It's so easy to see people that we know that are either attending or presenting at these events and feel a bit of a pressure to be there. Like you're going to miss out if you're not there. That's the in thing to do. It's also so easy to see an interesting topic that sounds super interesting, but it's not necessarily related to a skill that you're working on or a competency you need to strengthen. So you have a knee reaction of signing up. And while following your curiosity can have many benefits in your career, there is a drawback. And it's that if you're just following your curiosity without any intentionality, you might be stretching yourself thin and spending time in the wrong things. So I think that sometimes taking the courage or having that self-awareness to say, no, I'm not going to attend this can be pretty powerful. A few days after that in-person experience, I had an international trip for a conference in Vienna. And that was a lot more challenging to cancel because I had flights under my name. So I basically had to go. Because I knew this and I had already reflected on that other conference, I decided to make sure I had enough capacity to do the proper planning. I even reached out to coworkers that were not attending and asked them what sessions they'd be interested in having me attend. So I made a plan to not only go to the sessions that I was interested in, but also the ones that they wanted to learn from, and then created time in my schedule to make sure that I could review my notes and share back with them. When I was in Vienna, other than sightseeing, I really didn't have home responsibilities or errands to run, so it was easier to be present and fully participate in the conference. When I came back, I developed a document with my takeaways and I shared information with different people that I knew could find the information useful. So this second experience was completely different and this all made it worth it. It was still quite challenging to go. Safi's passing had been very recent and I found it really hard to leave my partner alone. But since I wasn't able to get out of it, I decided to make the best of it, to be very intentional and make my time worth it. And I'm glad that I did that. Since then, there's been more and more events. Like, honestly, there's so many events going on right now. I had the Canadian Evaluation Society virtual conference. I know right now there was the Summit for Evaluation. G Local is about to happen, and there's hundreds of events going on. If you haven't checked it out, go to their website. I am sure you will find at least one session you're interested in. But I am deciding to approach professional development for the next little while with a lot of caution. This whole experience for me was a reminder of the importance of approaching learning and professional development with intentionality, not just showing up and attending. I really need to make sure that the time and energy that I'm putting in serves me and being honest about what I can actually absorb. And this varies day by day as well. Like sometimes I'm in a better mindset than other days. And in those days, I'm being more okay with letting go. I'm constantly reminding myself that professional development isn't about doing more. It's not about going to more events and listing more trainings and more certificates. It's about actually learning and applying your learnings to drive results. The fourth career reminder I've had in this period is the power of leaning into your support network. Safi was such a big part of our identity for so many years, and a lot of our friends and even people I work with knew about her. They also knew when we were dealing with her health issues, and being surrounded by people that showed up in different ways really made a difference during this time. We had friends who came to our place to say goodbye to her, which was so special. At this point, she had not been eating, so she was very weak. But Safi loved life and she loved people. So seeing our friends gave her motivation to eat a little bit, which gave her energy for her last few hours of life. We had the most special moments with her the next morning, and I know that it really is all because our friends came and showed up that night. Some people checked in and offered support. Others just showed understanding when I needed space. Others have asked me even days after Safi's passing how I was doing and emphasized that they wanted to know how I was doing, like really. One thing I've been reflecting on is how much I value strong relationships at work. I know everyone approaches this differently and there's different preferences. Some people prefer to keep work and personal life completely separate, and that's totally fair. But for me, it feels very strange to spend so much of my life working, interacting with a group of people, showing up day after day, sharing space with them, and then suddenly disconnecting when something significant happens. I've come to realize that work and life aren't completely separate, that we bring our whole selves into everything we do. So when I have meaningful connections at work, it doesn't just make the workplace more enjoyable, it makes it easier to navigate life. And I don't see it as oversharing or blurring boundaries. I see it as recognizing that our relationships, even in a professional setting, can be a source of support. when you really need it. And I think this experience has given me clarity on what I need as a non-negotiable in my career. When I look into my ideal future career, I know that meaningful connections, not just 8 to 5 p.m. work relationships, have to be part of that career. I want to work alongside people who are present, who show up for each other during work and non-work hours, who recognize that navigating career and life challenges is something that we do together, and who build a sense of community around our work. And lastly, the fifth career reminder is the importance of letting your values guide you, even when they are in conflict. During this time, I experienced conflict between two of my top values in a way that I haven't experienced before. And it forced me to get clear on where they stand relative to each other. And the two values I'm talking about are integrity and family. When I talk about integrity, I mean being honest and having strong principles. It looks like making sure that my actions are aligned with my words and that I'm doing what I think is right, even when no one is watching. I often describe integrity as walking the talk. And the way that this shows up in my life is that when I'm here in the evaluation couch, telling people they should do X, Y, Z, being aligned with my integrity value means that I am also doing X, Y, Z. My other very important value is around family. And for me, that looks like making sure that I'm present and that I am cultivating my relationships with my family. So as you know, I have a framework for preparing for conferences and learning events that I've shared previously in another episode in this podcast. During this time, I didn't have the mindset or the space to do that for all of the conferences and trainings that I have attended. And this felt like it was against my integrity value. And at the same time, during this period of grief, it was even more important for me to spend time with my family, to be there for my partner, to be there for my dog, to experience this loss together. So this is where the conflict showed up. The days before attending the conferences I've had in the past few months, I felt the conflict because on the one hand, I want to have integrity and I want to do all the work required to have a meaningful learning experience. But because I was catching up on work, preparing to be away for several days because of this trip, I was still processing everything emotionally. The only way that I could carve out time to prepare for this would have been during my evenings or weekends. And the reality was that I needed time to be with my family. That was what mattered the most to me in this moment. So when I was sitting with this conflict, when the guilt started to creep in, I had to take a step back and ask myself, what is the most important thing right now? I had to be flexible, reminding myself that even though integrity is still one of my top values in this specific moment, my family was more sacred, and honoring that was the right choice. And this experience has also reminded me that values are not static. You can still have priority values, but their importance can shift a little bit depending on the situation. Sometimes one will take priority over another one. It has also been helpful to remind myself the importance of reflecting on our values when we're making decisions to make sure that we are aligned. Moving forward, whenever I experience a similar conflict, some questions that I think I'm going to ask myself are, what needs my attention right now? Is there a choice that allows me to honor both, even if it looks different than what I originally expected? So as you can probably gather from now, this time has been very challenging for me. But I think even in challenging times, we have an opportunity to reflect and learn. I'm not surprised that even after passing, Safi is still teaching me lessons, still reminding me of what truly matters. If you're going through a difficult time, I encourage you to reflect on what this moment is teaching you. Sometimes those lessons help us navigate with more self-compassion, reminding us to be gentle with ourselves. And just as important, I urge you to lean into the people around you, your support network, your own little evaluation couches, because having those spaces to connect can make all the difference. If you're still here with me, thank you for listening, for sharing this space, and for helping me honor my beautiful girl.